What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. Before I get started, I hope everyone is doing okay out there, taking every day one day at a time, living life the best way you know how. As for me, y'all know how I do. I'm doing pretty good over here. Can't complain too much. I'm also taking every day one day at a time, living life the best way I know how. I'm also looking forward to August the 18th. This is the day that I'm going to be returning to the academic part of my journey. And if you've been following me since I started my channel back in 2024, I have political goals and aspirations. I'm going to be attending Virginia Union University, VUU, and I'm going to be studying to receive a master's degree in political science and government. So the journey continues, y'all. And even though my schedule is going to be busy, what with taking classes online full time, and working a full-time job with overtime, mind you, I'm still going to do my best to get these videos out to y'all. And for those who have been supporting me since day one up until now, I really do thank you for the support, and I do appreciate it. And speaking of appreciation, that takes us to today's video, which I'm very excited to talk about because this one is going to bring back so many memories. 30 years ago today, August 15th, 1995, Russell Simmons Presents The Show was released, and I might as well go ahead and tell y'all now, I love this soundtrack. It's my number one favorite soundtrack of all time, and like I said, it's so many memories here, and usually when there's so many memories, it comes with a story, and I'm going to go right into that before we get to the individual songs on the soundtrack. At this point in the summer of 1995, I was 11 years old. Also, if you've been listening to my videos, you'll know that the last video I did was commemorating 30 years since Raekwon released his debut album, Only Built for Cuban Links, my number 2 favorite album of all time. This show soundtrack came out 2 weeks after the fact, and I want to say that either the week after this came out or 2 weeks after it came out, but it wasn't September just yet, so it was still August. My dad had picked me up and we had a weekend together. I can't recall where we went and what we did this day, but I do know I remember getting in his car and he had the show soundtrack playing. I was enjoying it to a point where before he took me back home, I asked, can he buy me this soundtrack on tape? And he kind of knew that I was going to ask him to buy it for me because how much I was enjoying it when he was playing it in the car. And he pretty much said, yeah, I'll get it for you. And from there, we went to Circuit City, and words cannot express how happy I was when he bought me this tape. And I kept this tape for the longest time. I played it to death, and I still remember my mom getting on his case about giving me the tape. And I still remember it. What you give him this tape for? Why you give him that show soundtrack, all that cussing? And all I could do was laugh, and all he could do was laugh. And regarding this soundtrack, like I said, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't see the actual documentary until either 1996 or 1997. I rented it from Blockbuster Video. I didn't go to the movies to see it because I heard a lot of mixed feedback about it. Some people said it wasn't worth the money. Other people said it was okay, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And at this point, we did start to get a lot of hip hop documentaries. Well, maybe not a lot, but they were starting to come out and they were being released in the theaters too. Even though they didn't last long, they still hit the theaters, and that was a big thing. And one more thing I want to say, props to my dad again, because he was the one that turned me on to hip hop at such a young age. And even though he no longer listens to hip hop, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So to my dad, thank you. I'm always going to credit him with getting me into hip hop. And at my 41 years of age right now, I'm still listening to it. Classics upon classics, some of the new stuff, depending on the artist, but y'all know how I do. And from here, we're going to go ahead and get right into the soundtrack itself, starting with the intro. This is courtesy of Kid Capri, Kid Creole, and Ecstasy. This is titled Hip Hop Is. Now, I also want to preface this by saying that there are a lot of skits on here that come directly from the documentary, as well as individual songs, and I'm going to touch on everything here. The most notable thing about this intro is that Kid Capri said, "This is hip hop music and this is all we got." That was true then and is true now, but he specifically said that at a point in time when it meant something. And it's something that needs to be said today in present day 2025. And I believe it was Kid Creole who said that hip hop is all about writing and rhyming and crushing who's ever's in front of you. That's hip hop. Hey, I agree. Next up, we go into Onyx Live. Now, this particular song is on that All We Got Is Us album, which was released a couple months after this. But the version that's on this album is slightly different towards the end if you listen to both of them back to back. And initially, I gave this song a 3.5 out of 5 rating, but I'll settle in at a 4 out of 5. It's pretty good. I've always liked it. And every time I listen to that, it always takes me back to that moment in time when I first played the tape on my own in my room. And after that Hip Hop Is intro, that's the song that gets this soundtrack started. Continuing on, Slick Rick Move On. This is a clip from the documentary. He gives some words of wisdom, and we're going to get a lot of that, like I said, throughout this particular review. Next up, we have the late, great Tupac, My Block. Now, at the time this came out, Tupac was still incarcerated, but he was like a few weeks away from getting bailed out by Suge Knight. And we all know the story behind that. But he also had the #1 album in the country while he was locked up, Me Against the World, which also came out in 1995. And to the best of my knowledge, I cannot think of any other artist who was locked up and had the #1 album on the charts. If I'm incorrect on that, y'all let me know. But to the best of my knowledge, Tupac has been the first and only artist to date to have that accomplishment, if you will. This is an excellent song, but then again, at this point, that's normally what you got from Tupac, and I gave it 5 out of 5. Next up, we have Sugar. What's up, star? I like to get to know who you are. Let's have drinks at the bar. And if I like what I see, then the drinks is on me. I love this song. She apparently was a protege of the late, great Jam Master Jay at one point, but it seems like after this song, she didn't do too much. She just faded away from the scene, but she would have been a good voice from a female perspective in hip hop as 1995 turned into 1996. But this is a memorable single. I love it. Every time I listen to it, again, it always takes me back to that moment in time when I just got the tape and when I was listening to it in my dad's car. Now, for nostalgia, this will get a 5 out of 5, no doubt, but overall, I give it a 4 out of 5. It's a great song. Then next up, we go to an interlude, Method Man Headbanger Boogie, and that was sequenced well because that takes us right into his joint with Redman, How High, and everybody remembers this classic. Now, the one that's on the soundtrack is not the one that they made a video for. This is actually the Eric Sermon remix, but it wasn't referred to as a remix at the time, but it's just as good as the original, and it's still dope. And we got our first taste of the awesome chemistry between Meth and Red, plus Redman's show stealing closing verse. And speaking of which, y'all know I got to do this one. Look up in the, I got the verbs, nouns, and glocks in ya. Into the center, lyrics bang like Ricka. Shade Rabbit, I brings havoc with an AK Matic. Rolling blunts in all day habit. I get it on like Smith and West. Who clicks the best? Punks take a sip and test. Who split your vest? The funk phenomenon. I'm bombing you like Lebanon. Blow canals of Panama just off stamina. Styles not to be fucked with or played with. Fuck the pretty hoes out of those Section 8 bitches. Hidden switches, twisting wigs with fat radical mathematical type scriptures. I dig up in your planets like Digger. Boo, scared you, blew you to smither. Rings, fuck the Marines, I got machines that like the spliff and read Mad Magazine. I fly more heads than Continental. Wreck you 5 times like USA off an instrumental. Look, I'm not a halfway crook with bad looks, but I may murder your case like your name was Kyle Brooks. I break some off proper. Axe Biggie Smalls who shot you. Funk Doctor with the 12 gauge Mossberg. Look, I got the twos like Rickle to make your mind tickle for the 9 nickel. And that, my friends, is the best verse of 1995 in a year with lots of dope verses, but that verse right there, also picked by the Source magazine as the best verse of that year. I agree. It's dope. It stole the show. Like you gotta ask what this song gets. This is a 5 out of 5 song if I ever heard one. Dope, and it's a classic. Still holds up today. Next up, we get another clip from the documentary Dr. Dre is Entertainment, and he states the obvious on this interlude. Living up to what you hear on record is all entertainment. We can talk about killing somebody on the record, but nobody's going to go out and do it unless they just stupid. Remember that. Man, these interludes, they may come off as just that, but it's some words of wisdom on basically every interlude on this soundtrack. And from there, we go into Bone Thugs and Harmony, Everyday Thing. 4 out of 5 song. I love this one. It's tight. And this is another group that was on a roll in 1995 thanks to their hot single, First of the Month, and that 1999 Eternal album. And I just want to mention this because I didn't mention it at the top. This soundtrack read like a who's who of artists who was on the scene in 1995. Just about everybody you could think of was on this one soundtrack. You want to talk star-studded? That's exactly what it was. And speaking of star-studded, that takes us to the next song, Mary J. Blige, Every Day It Rains. And this is probably the best Mary J. song you never heard. It's great. I liked it then, and I still like it today. And keep in mind, this was also at a point when I couldn't stand R&B, but Mary J. Blige, whatever she did, it worked with me. Going from What's the 411 to the My Life album, Mary J. Blige, at a point when I couldn't stand R&B, was the only person I gave the time of day to. That would change in a couple of years, but just know that at this point in 1995, R&B was not my thing except for Mary J. Blige. And nostalgia-wise, this would be a 5 out of 5, but as a song itself, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's pretty good. Next up, the late great Notorious B.I.G. It's All I Had. This is an interlude where he basically tells a story about his mom getting him a Run DMC tape and a Fat Boys tape for Christmas back in the day. And I'm pretty sure he was happy then, just like how happy I was when my dad got me this show soundtrack. That takes us into Isaac to Isaac, Old School. Now, this was a protege of Reverend Run, and the song was okay. I used to listen to it back then, but it's not forgettable or anything. It's just decent. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Nothing more or less. Next song, we have Dominoes in the house. Yo, we're going to start this thing off right, because Dominoes in the house tonight. And y'all remember Ghetto Jam from 1993. That's who this came from. And of course, I remember that song. And with hindsight being 2020, the beat was catchy, but Domino was never that special on the mic. I mean, this song itself, it was good. It had a decent beat and it had a hook. I give it 3 out of 5, but you know, it was okay. Next up, we move on to the Dove Shack Summertime in the LBC, a smooth G Funk song. And I remember one of my cousins really taking a liking to this song. And as a matter of fact, the next time I see her, I'm going to play this and see if she still remember it because she really liked this song back in the day. I still do like it today. It's probably the smoothest song on the first half of the soundtrack, 4 out of 5. So we move to side B, and when start side B is Tresh talking about the West Coast. And he basically says that there's some differences between the style and the culture on the West Coast and the East Coast, but it still was a level of respect there. There wasn't no hostilities just yet, but that's a whole nother story. Next song, we got South Central Cartel, Tretch, MC8, J.O. Felony, Spice One, and Shakilla. So what you saying? Now, even though Tretch was the only East Coast artist on this one, this is probably the most gangster, hardcore song on the soundtrack. But at the same time, when you pair it with the likes of South Central Cartel, Spice One, and MC8, you have no choice but to let the gangster be born out of you. And other than that, the song would be a 5 out of 5 for me, but I got to take 5 points off because of that silly hook. And for those who know this song, y'all know that hook I'm talking about. Just know that it's a line in there about passing gas and farting. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Tretch was not out of place along these West Coast heavyweights. Dope song, silly hook. And speaking of silly hooks, that takes me to the next song, J.O. Felony, Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams. Talk about one of the most unique titles in rap history. I was never a fan of J.O. Felony, but this song I did like a lot back in the day, and that hook, it is laughable. Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams. You go do your thing, yo, and I'm gonna do my thing. You go do your thing, yo, and I'm gonna do my thing. I can't do nothing but laugh at that joint 30 some years later. But back then I used to bump the hell out of it because it was good. I give it 3 out of 5. And speaking of 3 out of 5, that takes us to the next song, Trey D and Soul Central, Dropping Bombs. You may know Trey D from the group The East Siders with Snoop Dogg and Goldie Loke. Soul Central was on the scene a little bit, but after this song and a few things she did in 1996, I don't think we heard from her again. I don't think she did anything else of note after 1996. But this song, it was fairly decent for what it was. And like I said, it's a 3 out of 5 song. Next up, we get another interlude from the documentary Snoop Doggy Dogg, Save Yourself, because you don't have to go through what they went through in the past. And that was words of wisdom from Snoop in his prime. And I'm pretty sure today, even with all of the issues and controversies surrounding him right now, he'll probably say the same thing. Next up, this one was an interesting choice, not because of the song itself, but because of how it's titled. Now, it says that it's Warren G Still Can't Fade Me, but Warren G was not on this song. This was the Twins. The Twins were on this song, and for some reason, they was uncredited. I give it a 4 out of 5, and I always like the hook because one of the cats from the Dove Shack was on this one. You can never fade the G's, that's so crazy when they start to blaze after dark. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And speaking of 4 out of 5, that brings us to the next two songs. LL Cool J, Papa Love It, in which he was in Mr. Smith mode on this one, probably the smoothest song on the soundtrack. Mr. Smith also came out in 1995, and that's probably LL Cool J's most underrated album, I think. But it'll be challenged by Walking with a Panther or something like that. But that's another discussion for another day. And the next 4 out of 5 song is A Tribe Called Quest, Glamour and Glitz. I like that song. It was pretty dope. Then we get the Russell Simmons Nothing But a Drum Beat interlude. Nothing more to say about that. Next up, we have Cali Ranks Kill Them All. This was the only reggae song on the soundtrack, and it was pretty good. I give it 4 out of 5. But after that, he made a brief appearance on the late Black Rob's album, The Black Rob Report. But after that, I don't think he did much else. And if I'm incorrect on that, y'all let me know. But I don't think he was ever heard from after 2005. Moving on, we get Biggie and Puff Daddy with a live rendition of Me and My Bitch. This was live from Philly, and it was a rather energetic performance from Biggie. And plus, he rapped over the instrumental versions of Roger and Zapp's Computer Love. It was dope. It was pretty good. And like I said, 4 out of 5 for that one. Then Kid Creole and Ecstasy is What I Feel Inside. It was just another clip from the documentary. And from here, we prepare to close the soundtrack with Stanley Clarke and the show theme. And after so much goodness on this soundtrack, hip hop and R&B wise, not only does this theme close the soundtrack in a smooth fashion, but the only flaw to its style is that once it begins, it ends. And that always puzzled me because I feel that we could have got at least a couple more minutes out of it. That's how good it was, but it was real brief. Still not sure why. Man, this is one hell of a soundtrack. I've always loved it. And like I said, it's my favorite soundtrack of all time. On nostalgia alone, this would be 5 mics, but overall, just being objective here, this is 4 mics and a half. It's a dope soundtrack, one that I still listen to today. I'm never going to forget the memories and all of the nostalgia surrounding it. I mean, it's that good. And like that, y'all, we're not done just yet. I have in front of me the September 1995 issue of The Source with Mike Tyson on the front. A reviewer by the name of Riggs10032 did a review of this soundtrack, and I'm going to read this verbatim. It says, the show gets off to a furious start as Melly Mel states, to hold the mic in your hand and crush who's ever in front of you, that's hip hop. And I believe I said Kid Creole said that at the beginning, so my mistake on that. Onyx then sets off the musical points with Live, a track in which they're still making money off crime at any expense. Tupac once again proves he can sound fresh without the thug attitude on My Block. Lady lyricist Sugar is decent as she seeks out a playmate on What's Up Star. Then comes one of the top tag teams in hip hop history, as Redman and Method Man hit the point of verbal illness and mental madness with How High. With this simple but effective track and a catchy hook, this track would be a true summer banger, and it was. The Tacalian Stallion impresses as usual, but Redman takes this one with his Just Woke Up piss style. Those Kids from East 99 are also back. Bone Thugs and Harmony contribute one of the smoothest tracks of 95 with Everyday Thing. This beautifully produced track carries the smoothness of Phil Collins In the Air Tonight with that confusing runaway flow they've trademarked. And you can actually understand them on this one. Warren G brings along his G-Funk crew who appear on multiple tracks. Dove Shack shines with Summertime in the LBC, a laid-back barbecue track, and later a crew of G-Funketeers, including Warren G, the Twins, Five Footer Crew and Dove Shack proved they're unfadable. The South Central Murder Squad, Tretch, Spice One, and MCA included, kicks a lyrical gang bang on So What You Saying. In the tradition of the Get Down remix, Q-Tip leaves you fiending for more Tribe tracks on the all Q-Tipped Glamour and Glitz. The highlight to the soundtrack has to be Biggie Smalls' live version of Me and My Bitch as he flows to Roger and Zapp's classic Computer Love, Big Papa style, score another hit for Biggie this summer. I slightly disagree with that. While the rendition of Me and My Bitch was tight, I think the highlight of this soundtrack was Redman and Method Man's How High. Y'all let me know. If there are any flaws on this album, blame Domino, who, if it weren't for the rap at the end, should have been credited with an R&B track. LL Cool J lacks flow and delivery on Papa Love It. I disagree with that. And JL Felony delivers quality West Coast material, but his corny hook is not suitable for all ears. And y'all remember what I said earlier? I'm gonna get some zoom zooms and wham whams. You go do your thing, yo, and I'm gonna do my thing. You go do your thing, yo, and I'm gonna do my thing. From parks to picnics to barbecues, the show is a worthy album to take up space in your Walkman for the summer. In the end, it might actually spark another classic or two in Def Jam's long line of priceless tunes. Now, this reviewer Riggs 10032, he gave this album 3.5 mics, which is kind of low for this. And like I said, 4.5 mics for me is superior. Still a classic in my view. Man, it was fun taking this trip down memory lane 30 years ago, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. Again, my favorite soundtrack of all time, can't go wrong with it. So many memories, so much nostalgia, I'm never going to forget it. And on that note, y'all, we've come to the end of this video. If you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments. Let me know your thoughts on this soundtrack. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember, the power of the mind is valuable. Take care, y'all.